Every army that ever met the Mongols told itself the same lie first, that this time the land would do the work, that some mountain or river or wall or winter would finally stop the men who had never been stopped. It never did. But the prince we are about to watch does not intend to hope the land saves him. He intends to make the land the weapon himself, and he may be the most dangerous enemy this army ever rode toward. His name is Vlad the Impaler, and the machine coming for him is Genghis Khan's, the army that broke Samarkand and Bukhara, and does not lose the wars it chooses to fight. Vlad has perhaps 30,000 men against twice that number, and he knows exactly what that means in an open field. It means slaughter. So he will not give them an open field. He will give them his own country, ruined on purpose, and let it kill them a mile at a time. And the first thing the lead riders find? At the edge of the forest at dusk, tells them what kind of war this is going to be. The shapes in the tree line are the wrong shape for trees. Tall, thin, men, thousands of them, on stakes, turned to face the one road the army must take. So here is the only question that matters for the next 15 minutes. This army wins by riding, by speed, by the feigned retreat, by the arrow loosed from a wheeling horse at 200 meters. What happens when it marches into ground where it cannot ride? This is a model. 2 real commanders, their weapons and doctrine, 2 centuries and a continent apart, put on the same ground to see what it decides. Nobody watched this happen. That is why we are going to. And the clock is already running. Genghis has until the first snow. Târgoviște, Vlad's capital, has to fall before a Wallachian winter closes the passes behind him, or the greatest army on earth freezes in the mud it stands in. So walk in from the border and watch 2 of the most dangerous minds in history try to destroy each other. And forget the vampire. That came 400 years later, from a novelist who needed a name. The real Vlad is worse, because the real Vlad is sane. He cannot win a straight battle, so he does the thing most commanders do not have the stomach for. He decides to lose his country in order to keep it. He burns his own crops, poisons his own wells, breaks the banks of small rivers, so firm ground turns to marsh across the only roads in. And that forest of the impaled dead along the horizon is arranged like a fence around the idea of taking one more step. Understand what that forest is, because it is the whole of Vlad's genius, and not what it looks like. It looks like madness. It is engineering. Every stake does 3 jobs. It empties the countryside of anyone who might feed or guide the enemy. It breaks the nerve of men marching past it in the dark, and it says without a word that the man who did this will pay any price at all. Vlad is not defending Wallachia. He has turned it into the weapon, and the country itself will now try to kill this army, one cold, hungry, frightened mile at a time. So look at the ground they have to cross, because the ground is the argument. Between the border and the capital there is no open plain, only forest, dense and old and close, narrow passes, and the marsh Vlad widens every day. This is the one country that cancels everything the riders are good at. A Mongol needs space, room to wheel a line of horse across an enemy's front, 200 meters for a galloping archer to empty his quiver, the false retreat that lures a proud enemy out and devours him. In a forest, all 3 die at once. Killing range collapses to a spear's length. The wheel cannot turn between the trees. The retreat has nowhere to run. The riders enter the wood, and the invasion starts to bleed. It comes without warning, the way Vlad wants it to. Arrows from the tree line, close, then nothing. The archers gone before anyone can find them. A track that looks solid gives way and swallows a horse to the belly in freezing bog. Low stakes hidden in the brush, catching horse and rider as they pass. There is nothing to charge, no line, no flank, no enemy that will stand and be killed. Just the trees, the cold, and men dropping out of the column with no one to answer for it. In this reconstruction, the first week in the wood cost the invaders more than Genghis expected to spend before he had even seen the capital. And it cost Vlad almost nothing, because you cannot kill what will not come out of the trees. If you are keeping score, the prince is winning. Then Genghis does the thing that has broken every enemy before this one. He changes the problem. He refuses to keep feeding riders into a wood that eats them and gets the men off the horses. These were forest people before they were horsemen, born among the trees of the cold north, and he has not forgotten it. Men go ahead on foot to find the ambushes first. His engineers work the marsh the way they work the walls of Samarkand, felled timber-laden roads across the bog, so the army stops drowning and starts crossing. And Vlad's terror, the forest meant to break their nerve, this is an army that has made others afraid for a generation. A prince who impales a village has shown them nothing new. Here is the turn. Everything Vlad built his defense on, starve them, frighten them, drown them in the mud, was designed to break a slow, hungry, frightened siege army. It is close to a list of the things this enemy does better than he does. The weapons that would have destroyed any normal invader are the ones this army was built to survive, and the column, slower now and bloodied, is moving again, toward the capital, and the snow has not come yet. But Vlad is not finished, and this is where a lesser telling gets him wrong. He does not panic and gamble everything at once. He watches the timber roads go down and understands that if the country cannot stop the army, he must attack the thing, letting the army beat the country. He goes after the adaptation itself. The engineers laying those roads are worth more than any soldier now, so he hunts them, night raids on the labor crews, burning the finished road behind the column, so the army builds the same mile twice. He strikes the horse herds on the thin winter forage, because a rider on a starved horse is just a tired man with a bow. He sends false guides into the camp to steer whole columns onto the worst ground and the longest way around. None of it stops them. All of it costs the one thing they cannot make more of: time. Every burned road is days. Every raided herd is horses that will not carry a rider next week. Every wrong turn is forage eaten and daylight gone. Genghis is still advancing, but spending time he does not have. And above the tree line, the first gray weather is starting to stack. For the first time, the clock is not on his side. Drag this out a few more weeks, and winter closes the passes, and the greatest army on earth starves in a forest it half conquered. So both men are now racing the same snow, and Vlad decides the country has bought all the time it can. He stakes everything on the one blow that could still win the campaign in a single night. He goes for the head. Here is the logic, and it is sharper than it looks. Vlad does not need to destroy the empire. He knows he cannot. It has depth, sons and generals who could each carry it on. But that is the empire, over years. This is one invasion, in one hostile forest, in one closing season, and day to day it runs on the mind, in the command tent. Kill Genghis tonight, and even this army stalls. Orders stopping while the succession sorts itself out. Columns scattered in the trees, unsure who speaks for the whole. Vlad does not need to end the dynasty. He needs to steal a week. And a week, this late, is the snow. So on a moonless night, he leads the men he held back for exactly this, the ones who know the dark ground in their sleep, into the camp to find the Khan's tent and end the war with a knife. He gets inside. This is not invented. Vlad did exactly this against the Ottomans in 1462, riding a night raid straight at the enemy commander and coming within a tent of ending a sultan. The camp is vast and dark, and his men move through it like they were born to it, blades out, hunting the one tent that matters. For a few minutes, the most powerful army in the world is asleep with its throat bared, and the coldest man in Europe is inside its guard with a knife. Slow down here, because the hinge of the whole campaign turns on a few dozen yards in the dark. The raiders reach the center of the camp and hit the ring the Ottomans did not have, the Keshig, the Khan's own guard, whose entire duty is to keep him alive, awake in shifts every night for years, sleeping in armor. The ring holds long enough for the alarm to go up, and it goes up in horns and drums that put the whole camp on its feet faster than a raid can work through it. Vlad's men are in the wrong tents, out of time, the dark turning against them as thousands wake around them. He cuts his way out with the men he has left, and behind him, the one chance is gone. The forest bled them. The terror did not hold. The marsh became a road, and the knife found guardsmen instead of the Khan. The invaders reach Targovishte, and the siege begins. But do not assume the wall simply falls, because now it is a race, and the snow is the finish line. The engineers who beat the marsh turn to the walls, isolating the capital the way this army isolated Samarkand. The first hard frost arrives while the walls still stand, and for a few days the question is genuinely open. If the passes close now, the invasion dies in the field it bled to cross, and Vlad wins by outlasting the one enemy no army could conquer. Then his own weapon turns in his hand. The country he burned to starve the Mongols has been starving his own defenders too, and his men do not carry food on the hoof. His last sally against the siege engines goes in hungry and comes apart. The engineers reach the wall a few days before the snow closes the road behind them.
The guard ring is ready.
And a wall this army has committed to taking comes down. Genghis Khan wins. But before that name settles, give the prince his due, because his case is real and sharper than the result. Vlad came within a few dozen yards of ending the whole campaign in one night, the honest hinge of this whole thing. Alone among the enemies this army ever faced, he went straight at the one man the invasion could not run without, with the one weapon that does not care how many soldiers stand between them, a knife in the dark, on ground where the scattered columns could not hold together without the mind that placed them. Change one tent, let the raiders reach it before the guard fully wakes, and the greatest army on earth is leaderless in a forest, at night, in a country trying to kill it, with the snow a week out, and a campaign that was minutes from the capital unravels instead. He is not the weaker commander. He built the one trap that could have held this enemy, and lost it by a guarded tent. But he lost it, and not to courage. The terrain bled the army, and could not stop it, because these were forest people before they were riders. His scorched earth and terror and marsh were perfect weapons against a slow, frightened siege army, and close to the wrong weapons against the one enemy who does each of them harder and feeds off the land. And the winter he counted on arrived a few days after the engineers reached a wall his hungry defenders could no longer hold. What beats Vlad is not that these men are braver or crueler. He matches them on both. It is that every weapon he reaches for, this enemy holds a better one, and changes which one faster than he can counter. That adaptation speed is the whole verdict. Vlad can make a country lethal, and Genghis can keep changing how his army touches it until the country runs out of ways to kill. Say the loss plainly, because a defeat this close is still a defeat. Vlad loses the capital and the field, but what it costs him is not a death on his own wall. He does not die here. When Targovishte falls, he does what the wolf does, vanishes into the tree line with the men he has left, and the war changes shape into a prince in the woods, bleeding the occupier, which is how the real Vlad went on, fighting from the margins until his own noblemen, sick of the ruin he had made of their country, pulled him down and handed him to a prison in Hungary. His capital is taken, his people turning on him, but the man himself slips the noose and keeps killing. The one move a defender on his own ground can always make, refuse to be where the enemy needs him to be. That is the model, and only a model, a battle that never happened, numbers chosen inside what the record allows. The one place it is least certain is that knife in the dark, because a night raid is a coin, and a different toss ends a different way, which is the question that outlives the verdict. Vlad lost because he could never force this enemy to fight the slow, starving war his country was built to win. It simply refused to be that army. But somewhere out there is a defender these riders could not outsupply. On ground their engineers could not flatten. Behind a wall their siege train could not crack in one season. When the greatest army on earth finally met a wall that did not come down, what happened then? That reconstruction is next.